Hello and welcome to our webinar today. My name is Colin Wilson. I'm proud to present our webinar topic, which is all about understanding personalities in the workplace. And it can be very challenging working with different personalities in your workplace. And this webinar is designed to educate you on how to deal with this better. It is a free webinar and it is being recorded, and you will see a copy of this webinar up on our website in the next few days. Okay, let me get into the webinar. All right, so today's session, what we'll cover is understanding the different personalities using the DISC model. And we're a very proud, supplier of DISC. We do a lot of DISC profiles throughout our clients because it is all about learning how different personalities work in the workplace that builds a great culture. I'm going to chat to you about how to deal better in conflict situations and how to get the best outcomes from your team by using, the DISC model, and I think it's really, really important. As I mentioned before, my name is Colin Wilson. I'm the Director of Key Business Advisors. I love what I do. We've been operating for 14 years, and we go into companies, and what we do is we do our magic, and we try and help them to go from good to great. That's what our mission is. So, as I said before, our mission is taking business from good to great, and our purpose is to take our customers on a journey to help them improve all aspects of employee engagement and performance within their business. What we know is if we've got a great culture and a lot of engagement with a team, staff in a company, then they get great outcomes. And that's the whole methodology of why we do what we do. There's 4 pillars to our business: business, strategy, and growth. We help businesses put strategies in place to grow their business to get to the next level. We do a lot around people and culture, which is a part of what the webinar is today. We're an outsourced HR business, so we give HR advice and support to many clients. They use us as their third party, or they're like an accountant or solicitor. They use us for helping them manage staff. And we do a lot of training, so a lot of leadership, future leader training, management training, sales training. So very proud of what we do, and that's what our business is all about. Okay, so let me get into our first topic. And our first topic is about understanding different personalities using the DISC model. So, if I just take you through this slide, which is understanding personality. So some of the things we talk to a lot of companies about, especially leaders, managers, why do people behave the way they do? Because managing staff is not easy. What happens when there is conflict? How do you deal with it? What happens if I don't deal with it and it festers and it gets worse later down the track? How do you avoid conflict in the workplace, right? So what's some of your processes or strategies to do that? What would happen if you knew and worked to the strengths of different personalities? Because the way the personality profiling works is people have different strengths based on their personality. And then what would happen if you knew and worked with the weaknesses of a personality, of different personalities? So you can't be good at everything, and we all know that. So the way it works is, I'll show you in a sec, but when we tailor things to a particular person's personality and attributes, then what you're going to get is the best out of that person. So my last topic there, or my last point there, is how would you feel if everyone understood each other? So that takes me to, I'm going to really open up and show and demonstrate to you everything DISC model using Catalyst. Now, this is a new product that has come out, and we are a great reseller of this product. We love this product. Why? Because the old DISC profiles used to be done through a manual process, whereas today you can use a digital format. So I've just logged out. I'm just going to change screen. So give me 1 sec. When I get it up. Here we go. So I'm going to drag this over here, and as you can see, I'm now logged into the Everything DISC Catalyst model. So as you go through, the first thing I want to talk about is, well, understand your style. So if you do a profile, it's going to tell me a bit about my style. So let me tell you a little bit about me. So learn about your style. So what is important is this, right? Is understanding how the different styles work. For an example, D is dominance, I is influence, S is a steadiness, and C is conscientious, right? So you can see already up there, it tells me where I sit, and I can learn more about the DISC model by clicking on this, and it can take me and show me some YouTube clips of how DISC works. But we don't have time for that today. I'm just going to give you a bit of an overview. So the way it works is you fill in a questionnaire online, and you might get, for an example, somewhere between 9 to 120 questions. And then eventually what happens is it's going to tell you what your personality profile is like. And it has a very high accuracy of who you are. So I talked about your map. As you can see, I'm a DI in this map, and it gives you your DI story. So this is about me. So so basically you have a bit of a read through this, and you sit back and agree, well, yes, this is me, and you might disagree with a few things, but 95, 98% of the time when I go through this with a client, they go, this story of me in my profile is definitely me. And I've had clients where they've gone and taken it and showed their wife or partner, and they go, yes, this is definitely you. So it gives you a bit of a snapshot of what your profile and personality is like. So you can see the last paragraph there, Colin. Like others with the DI style, your most valuable contributions to the workplace may include your high energy, your drive to achieve, and your ability to inspire others. In fact, these are probably some of the qualities that others admire most about you. That is me, and that's exactly how it works. Do I have a high attention to detail? Well, I'm not the best at it, but I do have people in my company that do have a high attention to detail, and I'll show you how that works in a sec. So again, I can go through and I can learn more and more about how the DISC profile works. If I click on the DISC model, the DISC model can give me an overview of how the actual model works. And as I said, there's some YouTube clips here, but if I just go to the 4 primary styles, right? So the way it works is this. As you can see, a D style, these people are very active and skeptical. Their priority is getting immediate results, taking action, challenging themselves and others, motivated by power and authority, competition, winning, success, fears, loss of control, being taken advantage of, vulnerability, and some limitations, lack of concern for others, impatient, insensitivity. Now, in a workplace, if I'm a D style and I understand this and I know this, and I know somebody's not like my style, then I have to be mindful on how I treat that other person. As you can see, if I look at the I style, active and accepting, you can see priorities, which is all around expressing enthusiasm, taking action, encouraging collaboration. These people are motivated by social recognition, group activities, friendly relationships. And their fears are social rejection, disapproval, loss of influence, or being ignored. And you can see the limitations: impulsiveness, disorganized, and lack of follow through. So they might forget a few things every now and again. And a great example is salespeople who don't fill in the paperwork. Well, that could be a good example of that. Yeah. If I look at the S style, which is accepting and reflecting, you can see, or reflective, you'll see priorities. Giving support, maintaining stability, enjoying collaboration. So these people love to be part of a team and support. Motivated by stable environments, sincere appreciation, cooperation, opportunities to help. Fears, loss of stability, change, loss of harmony, offending others, and limitations, overly accommodating, a tendency to avoid change, and indecisiveness. So they like people who can make decisions and give them direction. So again, you sit back and have a look at the DISC model and the wheel, you can see that the direct opposite of being a D style, these guys make decisions. So D styles and S styles get along fabulously. If I look at the C style, priorities, ensuring accuracy, maintaining stability, challenging assumptives, these people are motivated to use expertise or gain knowledge to attention to quality. Their fears is criticism, self-confidence of being wrong, and limitations is overly critical, tendency to overanalyze and isolate self. So these people like to work alone, and they love working on projects. So, in a company, what makes a great company is people with multiple personalities. Because if you have all the same personalities, then it can become a bit boring. So let me take you through down below here. What I love about this product, and I think this is one of the greatest induction tools of all time when you put somebody on, is you can go down and you can start to talk about, well, building better relationships, but I can look at our colleagues. So if I click on this, all of a sudden, I've got all the colleagues of my business. So let me pick on one, right? So let me pick on, I work with my wife, and that's not easy working with your partner, but we've done it very successfully for the last 14 years. But as you can see, I'm going to show you that this is Lorraine's style. So she is a CS style. So, she's very deliberate and thoughtful. She always works with a methodical approach and prioritises on quality. Now, if I just touch on that alone, when we do things together, like for an example, I might get her to look at one of my presentations, or view a proposal, or if we're doing a tender or something like that, I will go in and do it to the best of my ability. But she's the person that's got the detail that goes through and fixes everything for me to make me look good, if that sort of makes sense. She's behind the scenes. And she likes to be behind the scenes. Public speaking is not one of her favourite things, doing it in a crowd of people, where I like to do that. So as you can see, I'm giving you a very good example of how this works, right? My style, and you can see Lorraine's style. So maybe that's why we've been married for 30 years too, because we're opposites. But what you can see here is I am all about results, action, enthusiasm, and I have a shading to collaboration because I love working with people. And what Lorraine is all about is accuracy, stability, and support. She's a very supportive person. So these are our styles. And what you will see is things around similarities. So as you go through this, you can actually really compare your tendencies of how you actually can work together, let alone live together. So if I look at this, you can see here that this is how it works. So I'm very strong-willed and Lorraine is very accommodating. Don't worry, we still have our moments, right? Where she will bring out the D style and put digger heels in and tell me that I'm doing this right, wrong, or right. That is part of how it works. You know, and I'm using this as an example because when you work with other colleagues, it's about learning about how they work and how they operate. So how do I get best work with them? And if there is conflict, the greatest thing is I can actually, go back and have a look and thought, well, how could I have handled that better? And when we get into a situation where there is conflict in the workplace, one of the things that I do, and so does the team at Key Business Advisors, is we'll go and recommend doing a DISC profile and doing a comparison report to try and avoid conflict in the future. So you can see here, it gives you, I'm outgoing, Lorena's very private. So that gives you some great tools to use. Focus on feelings, focus on logic, tactful, frank. And you can see here, structured. So I like to be structured. She's better structured than what I am, but I like to be structured. And then, you know, things around possibilities, realities, skeptical, accommodating, so you can see how it actually works. Fast paced, steady pace. But what I really love about this is the tension, right? And the benefits of working together and the roadblocks. And it gives you some tips on what you can do to improve that working relationship. Also connecting better, how you collaborate better, how you make decisions and get buy-in better with each other. So I'm just going to show you, so I've showed you Lorraine, I might just show you one more so you can sort of see. If I use Belinda here, that comes up. So Belinda is an S style, and she's my right-hand person in this business. For when we work, she does a finance and admin, does a fantastic job. And you can see here that, again, you know, like I show less emotion, she shows more emotion. I'm less precise, she's more precise, so I need that, you know. So again, personalities in the workplace, different personalities have different strengths. And again, that's what makes a great team. So again, you can see this is how it works. And oh, look, this is miles apart. So you know what? You know, I'm very frank, she's very tactful. So she doesn't like getting into an argument or anything like that. So I've got to be mindful not to be, what's the word? And not you should be doing this in the workplace, but don't be aggressive, right? Because that's not gonna work. So I hope what I've showed you has given you some really good tips on understanding what this personality is all about. And if anyone wants to know anything more about this, then please contact us at Key Business Advisors, and we'd only be too happy to show you more about how this works. Okay, and we can run a workshop for your company as well. So if I go back now and have a look at, for an example, how to deal better in conflict. So what we've got now is how to manage your emotions. So am I still sharing? Yep, perfect. All right, so you need to manage your emotions. So this topic is about, sorry, I just got myself a little bit lost there. I thought the screen wasn't sharing. Okay, so how to deal better in conflict situations. So managing emotions. You need to manage your emotions. You need to look at the situation. You need to try and understand what has happened. When we're managing staff, if we lose our cool, or we're working with a colleague who loses our cool, then that can become really difficult. So if I've got to manage a situation, you need to look at the situation, try and understand why this has happened, and don't backtrack on other situations and bring it into the conversation. Oh, you did this last week, last month, last year. I mean, HR best practice is if you've got a bit of conflict in the workplace, you want to deal with that incident right then and there, not let it fester, because that could create more anger or and aggression later down the track. Don't get personal, which is really important, because the moment you get personal, that could take a general protections claim on you or an adverse action claim on you, saying this person's got personal with me, and it's a bad ending. I definitely recommend do not get angry or aggressive, because that's not going to achieve anything. And we've seen the outcome of what Will Smith did of recent. So we just don't do any of that, get abusive or anything like that. We're an outsourced HR business. We will always recommend to follow a HR process and document everything that's got to do with any situation that is uncomfortable in the workplace, especially if there's conflict. And you need to manage the situation with an outcome. Yeah, I think is really, really important. So every time you're having a conversation in relation to some conflict in the workplace, so if it is you're the manager and you're trying to deal with two staff members, then you always want to try and come up with an outcome, and would highly recommend not put them together and try and sort it out together. First of all, I would definitely go down that path of having a conversation with one person and another person. And again, depending on the severity of it, if it is something that is, for an example, misconduct, then that's a totally different scenario. There might be scenarios where you need to put somebody on suspend their employment. They're at home still getting paid while you do a proper investigation. And again, our company does deal with these situations with our clients. What I do want to say is, if you do nothing, then the situation will only fester. So if there's conflict in the workplace, you do nothing, it will only fester, and most likely will create more conflict later down the track. And we see that from time and time again. And I guess when I'm talking about the emotional side of things, when we go into a company, we get the whole story of what this person's done for the last 6 months, 12 months, and a recent one, 12 years. So how have you allowed that to happen in the workplace? And it just comes back to, and I showed you personalities before, the manager doesn't like conflict, so therefore they avoid it all the time. So it's really important that you understand this and deal with the situation. Okay, so if I look at the best ways to deal with conflict. Okay, well, for me, how to manage the situation. So yes, you want to investigate the situation to work out why did it happen, and is it a dispute between two people? Is it them sharing opinions with two people or two or three people? Is it a personality clash? So again, that's important with DISC. And then if somebody dislikes the person, then that could be a problem. Now, we need to do a bit of a reality check. Like, you can work with someone, you don't have to like the person, right? But as long as you work with them and keep it professional, that's what we're asking you to do. But if someone's becoming more personal and they're having an attack at them about their age, race, gender, whatever it may be, then that's not tolerated in today's workplace, and that needs to be followed through a HRIR process to make sure that does not continue. Because having a healthy workplace is what it's all about, and then you start to fall into WHS law if you don't deal with the situation. Link the situation back to the company's mission, purpose, vision, and values. So for me, I'm very big on what's our mission, and I talked about that at the start of this webinar. Are we achieving this job, achieving our goals collectively with our customers and with each other? Link it back to your company's goals and objectives, and you always should have some goals and objectives of what you're trying to achieve, and share that with your team, because that keeps them focused and motivated. You want to investigate the situation one-on-one and try to come to a solution with each person involved. Depending on the situation, you may want to investigate, and things that gets investigated are things like when something turns to crap, if I can say that. An investigation would be things around, well, witnesses, did you see this behaviour? Did you understand how this happened? Is there look at emails, text messages, even personal attacks on social media, which we've seen before in this business. That all comes into the context of dealing with conflict. And I'll say it's gone too far if it's got to this point. You need to come up with a solution which may involve doing some sort of DISC profile with a comparison report. And we've seen it where somebody's got a really strong personality and someone's got a lesser, stronger personality, like for an example, a D style and a C style. And we do a comparison report. So if I'm a D style and I'm telling you to do this and changing the goalpost every 5 minutes, and this is what I need to do, that's very hard for a C style to absorb, because they like to follow a process. So when you go through and you do a DISC profile and a comparison report, like I showed you before, you become more accommodating to work with that person. And I think, the biggest thing for me is seek independent support to help you manage this situation if you've really got bad conflict in the workplace. Okay, I'm going to go on to my third and final topic, and please feel free if you want to add anything to the chat room as well and talk to us. But how to get the best outcomes from your team. Okay, so to me, everything's around leadership. Some recommendations. You should have a strategic plan or some sort of business plan, especially if you've changed your business model through the pandemic. And we're doing a lot of work at that with our business strategy and growth. We're helping companies create a bit of change. This is our strategy moving forward, even a bit of change management, because they're forced to do that. I think clarifying roles and responsibilities is really, really important to make sure everyone's on the same page. You want to set company and department goals and objectives. So basically, this is what we need to do as a whole, but this department, or this is what I need you to achieve. I'm very passionate about getting your team involved. Anyone who knows me and does work with me, I talk a lot about doing meaningful work, being on a winning team, making sure that everyone is together on the journey. So, get your team involved so they can contribute to decisions made. Because if they have to contribute, then they've got buy-in, which I think is really important. Make sure there is buy-in, as I just said before, and clarity of what your company is trying to achieve, because people don't understand it and they make decisions. What we'll hear is, why do people make decisions without telling me? And we hear that a lot in a lot of companies. And make sure everyone feels valued in what you are trying to achieve. So if we're trying to achieve an outcome, that means that everyone in the company contributes together. And we know this the analogy of team, together everyone achieves more. Well, that's what it's about. If I could take you through this passion pyramid, which is about understanding staff's needs, what you can see is the leadership skills leaders need to have on the left-hand side. And if we look at our employees' needs, well, everyone wants to be respected, they want to learn and grow, and to be an insider. And they want to do meaningful work. We know that, at the moment, there's a lot of, it's hard to recruit people because there's a skill shortage. But for the people who do want to move from one company to another, this pyramid really speaks for itself, right? Because people want to do meaningful work and everyone wants to be on a winning team, because it's important that we show that we are a successful business and live by our mission, vision, purpose, and values, because this is what it's all about. What is the outcome is we end up with, if we've got respect, we end up with a basic level of employee engagement. They respect the role, they like the people they work with. If we're good at coach, managing and mentoring and counselling our team, then we end up with more talented, skillful employees. If they become an insider, they feel emotionally connected. If they do meaningful work, there's an increased commitment and engagement. And, when we're on a winning team, there's definitely, you end up with passionate employees. And you'll be able to retain your employees because everyone's passionate about what you do. The pandemic really stood out for us when what can go wrong in a business. We saw that with a lot of companies. We saw the good, the bad, and the ugly. But the number one thing was communication, right? So clear communication removes 98% of the conflict in a workplace. If everyone knows where the direction the business is going and everyone is on the same page, that reduces conflict. So I think what's important is, yourself and your leaders, you need to be on the same page, and everyone has got to be in it together to get the right outcome. You want to explain to your team the reasons why we're doing this change. and the reasons against. So when we're sitting back and going, well, we're looking at, changing our business model, pivoting our business, we look at the pros and cons, or the reasons why this is going to be a good decision. What's the reasons against this decision if we go down this path? And you want to explain that to your team that, if we don't go down this path, this is what could happen to our company. We may not be sustainable. Create a project or projects with a start and finish times, dates and times. This is a project that we need to do. You may need to retrain your staff. So put a plan in place to make that happen. Recognize your staff for their contribution. So if they're committing to to the outcome of what you need, then that's absolutely fantastic. Massive big believer in celebrating the milestone moments. So you achieve those goals, you want to recognize people and celebrate it. And you want to build a winning team where the culture in your business is infectious, because that attracts other employees. And of recent, we did some recruitment for our company because we've grown. And one of the things that was really that stood out to a particular candidate said, I want to come and work for you because I can see that you've got a great team. Everyone's passionate about what they do. I've met Alison and Maya, and they just speak so highly of this business. I want to be part of that. So not myself or my wife Lorraine talking to this person. This has come from our staff, and that's what builds a great team. Okay, if you've liked what we've gone through this webinar, please download our free download checklist on people and culture, and it's on our website, along with lots of other downloads too that you might find interesting. Do we have any questions? And I know questions are all good in a webinar, and I'm just mindful of time. But the question is, how do you deal with employees that just don't want to change? Well, that's a really good question, because our whole business model's changed right now, and I think what you need to do is go back and explain the reasons why you need to change. And if you're not prepared to change, then well, that's where I guess some tougher conversations need to happen. And we are currently right now getting a lot of inquiries coming through about getting my staff back to the workplace. So you've got to come up, you've got to be compromised. You've got to compromise what's good for the business. It's got to be a win-win situation for both, I think is important. Okay, I really hope you've enjoyed our webinar today. We do run some courses you might find interesting or helpful. But leadership, we run this leadership program called the 5 Behaviours of a Cohesive Team, which is all about building trust within a business, especially in the leadership team. I'm very passionate about getting all managers or anyone that's managing staff on the same page on how to manage and motivate staff through a HR process. Why? Because it protects your business. And I think disc management workshops or profiling workshops, you can see that I showed you Catalyst, we do that, and a Future Leaders training program for your up and coming leaders, so you try and keep them within your business. Our next webinar is on the 6th of June, hiring the right salespeople. So come and join us for that webinar. There's our topics. And I just want to say, look, thank you very, very much for attending this webinar. This is the product offerings of what we do, and it's all on our website. And if you really loved our webinar and the information I've gone through today, please give us a Google review, because that's what we live by, and that's why other customers come to us, because we do have good Google reviews, which is important in today's world. Thank you very much, and that concludes our webinar.